The morning started like any other Tuesday for Jake Harrison. He sat at his desk in the deep underground facility, watching radar screens that showed nothing but commercial airliners and the occasional military jet. NORAD had been quiet for months. Jake sipped his coffee and checked the time. Only 3 hours left on his shift. Then everything changed. The first contact alarm screamed through the facility. Jake nearly dropped his coffee mug as red lights flashed across every screen. His supervisor, Colonel Rick Davis, ran over to Jake's station. "What do we have, Harrison?" Davis asked, his voice tight. Jake stared at his screen in disbelief. "Sir, I'm reading multiple contacts, very large contacts. They just appeared out of nowhere." "How many?" "Counting now, sir. 50. No, wait. More are appearing. 70. 100. Jake's voice rose with each number. "Sir, they're huge. Each one is the size of a city." Davis grabbed the emergency phone. Within minutes, the facility buzzed with activity. Military personnel ran through hallways. Phone calls went out to Washington, to other bases, to allies around the world. High above Earth, massive ships hung in space like dark jewels. They were not made of metal like human spacecraft. Instead, they looked like giant crystals, purple and blue, gleaming in the sunlight. The largest ship was 20 miles long. It positioned itself directly above New York City. President Linda Carter was in a meeting when her aide burst in. "Madam President, we have a situation. Please come to the Situation Room immediately." Within an hour, world leaders were on video calls. The British Prime Minister looked pale. The Russian president kept checking his papers. The Chinese leader spoke quietly with his advisors. "What do we know?" President Carter asked. General Kate Morrison, the highest-ranking military officer present, spoke first. The ships appeared simultaneously at 0800 hours, Eastern Time. They're positioned over every major city on Earth: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, Delhi. They're not moving, just hovering. Any communication attempts? We've tried everything. Radio, laser, even mathematical sequences. No response so far. Dr. Amy Collins, head of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative, leaned forward. "Madam President, I recommend we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. These ships clearly have technology far beyond ours. They can appear out of nowhere and maintain position without any visible means of propulsion." The President nodded. "What are our options?" "Limited," General Morrison admitted. "We can scramble fighters, but frankly, our weapons might be useless against technology like this." As if the aliens had been listening, every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth suddenly carried the same signal. The screens showed a tall, thin creature with pale blue skin and large black eyes. It spoke in perfect English, though. Its voice sounded like wind through metal tubes. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Kefvero of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world is now under our protection. You will surrender your weapons and your governments to us. We will provide order and purpose to your species." The creature paused, its black eyes seeming to look through the cameras directly at each viewer. "You have 72 hours to comply. Your leaders will broadcast their surrender on all channels. Any resistance will result in consequences. We have conquered 47 worlds. Your technology cannot harm us. Choose wisely." The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. President Carter was the first to speak. "Get me every military commander, every scientist, every expert we have. We need options." Around the world, the reaction was the same. Some nations panicked. Others immediately began preparing surrender documents. A few, like the United States, Britain, and Japan, decided to fight. Jake Harrison found himself assigned to a new team. Dr. Collins had requested the best radar operators to help analyze the alien ships. Jake worked alongside Dr. Helen Brooks, a scientist who specialized in analyzing unusual aircraft. "Look at this," Dr. Brooks said, pointing to her computer screen. "The ships aren't just sitting there. They're scanning everything. Radio waves, television signals, internet traffic. They're learning about us." Jake studied the data. "They're also doing something else. See these energy readings? They're taking pictures of our military bases, our factories, our cities. They're planning something," Dr. Brooks agreed. "But what?" Colonel Davis had been thinking the same thing. He volunteered for the most dangerous mission anyone could imagine. Using experimental stealth technology, he would try to get close to one of the alien ships. Maybe even board one. "It's suicide," President Carter said when she heard the plan. "Maybe," Davis replied. "But if we don't learn something about them, we're all dead anyway. At least this way, we might get information that could help." The stealth ship was barely large enough for Davis and two other soldiers. It used technology that made it nearly invisible to radar and hopefully to alien sensors too. They chose to approach the smallest alien vessel, one hovering over Denver. The flight took 6 hours. Davis and his team had to fly slowly and carefully to avoid detection. As they got closer to the alien ship, they could see it was not solid crystal as it appeared from far away. Instead, it was made of some transparent material that seemed to flow like liquid, but held the shape of crystal. "How do we get inside?" asked Sergeant Ben Miller, one of Davis's team members. "There," Davis pointed to what looked like a crack in the ship's surface. That might be a docking port or an airlock. They were right. The crack opened as they approached, revealing a space just large enough for their small ship. Once inside, they found themselves in a chamber filled with strange glowing air. "The air is breathable," reported Dr. Sue Adams, the mission scientist, "but it feels different. Thicker somehow." They left their ship and began exploring. The corridors were tall and narrow, designed for beings much thinner than humans. Everything glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols covered the walls. Then they heard voices, hiding behind what might have been alien furniture. They listened to two Zephyrians talking. Dr. Adams had brought translation equipment, but she did not need it. The aliens were speaking English. "The genetic samples from the first group will be ready soon," one alien said. "Good. Our people need fresh material. The degradation is getting worse. How long can we survive without new genetic input?" "Perhaps 50 years. Less if the breakdown accelerates." Davis and his team looked at each other in shock. The aliens were not just conquerors. They were desperate. They needed something from humans that they could not get anywhere else. "We are dying," the first alien continued. "These humans are our last hope. Their genetic diversity is exactly what we need. What if they refuse to cooperate? Then we take what we need by force. Dead or alive, their genetic material will serve our purposes." Davis signaled his team. They had learned enough. Now they needed to get this information back to Earth. The aliens were not invincible conquerors. They were a dying species looking for a way to survive, and they had made a terrible mistake. They had chosen to threaten humanity. Colonel Davis and his team made it back to Earth with the most important information in human history. The aliens were not the mighty conquerors they pretended to be. They were dying, and they needed humans to survive. President Carter called an emergency meeting. Leaders from around the world joined by video link. Davis stood before them all and shared what he had learned. "The Zephyrians are desperate," Davis explained. "Their own genetic experiments have left them unable to have children naturally. They need fresh genetic material from other species. That's why they want us alive." Dr. Collins leaned forward. "This changes everything. They're not trying to destroy us. They need us. That gives us power." "What kind of power?" asked the British Prime Minister. Dr. Helen Brooks answered. "If they need us alive, they can't use their most powerful weapons. They have to be careful not to damage what they came here to take. President Carter looked around the room. So what do we do with this information? General Morrison had been thinking about this question. We pretend to surrender. But while we're pretending, we prepare to fight. Many world leaders disagreed. The French president spoke up. This is too dangerous. If we anger them, they might decide to take what they need from our dead bodies instead of our living ones. But Dr. Collins had studied the alien conversation carefully. They specifically said they need living genetic material. Dead samples won't work for their purposes. They need us alive and healthy. The debate went on for hours. Some countries wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight openly. But President Carter and her allies convinced most nations to try the deception plan. The next day, with only 24 hours left before the alien deadline, Earth sent a message to Admiral HFY. President Carter herself appeared on all global broadcasts. Admiral HFY, the nations of Earth have decided to accept your protection. We will send representatives to discuss the terms of our surrender. We ask only that you treat our people with kindness. High above Earth, Admiral HFY War watched the human transmission with satisfaction. Another world had fallen to Zephyrian might. Soon, his people would have the genetic material they needed to survive for another 1,000 years. But HFY did not know that Earth's surrender was a lie. Captain Tony Rodriguez had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of his life. He would pilot one of Earth's surrender ships to the alien flagship. But instead of diplomats, his ship carried 50 of Earth's best soldiers, all armed with experimental weapons. Dr. Brooks had worked without sleep for 2 days to prepare these weapons. She had studied the alien technology that Davis brought back. The Zephyrians used energy shields to protect themselves, but their shields had a weakness. They could not block certain frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. These pulse rifles should go right through their shields, Dr. Brooks explained to Rodriguez's team. But we only get one chance. If they adapt their shields, these weapons will be useless. Rodriguez looked at his soldiers. They were scared but determined. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species these aliens have conquered before us. While Rodriguez prepared his attack, Dr. Brooks worked on an even bigger project. Hidden in underground facilities around the world, teams of scientists built electromagnetic pulse transmitters. These devices could send out the same frequency that would disable Zephyrian shields. But they could also do something else. Dr. Brooks had discovered that the alien ships used quantum drives to stay in the air. These drives operated on a very specific frequency. If she could disrupt that frequency, the ships would fall from the sky. It's risky, she told President Carter. We'll only get one shot. If it doesn't work, they'll know we're attacking them. And if we don't try, President Carter replied, we'll spend the rest of our lives as their slaves. The surrender ships launched on schedule. Rodriguez and 4 other captains piloted their vessels toward the alien fleet. To the Zephyrians, it looked like Earth was keeping its promise to surrender. Admiral HFY watched the human ships approach. Begin docking procedures, he ordered. Prepare the genetic extraction chambers. The human ships docked with 5 different alien vessels. Rodriguez's team went aboard the flagship itself. The Zephyrians welcomed them without suspicion. After all, these were defeated humans coming to surrender. Rodriguez walked calmly through the alien corridors. His team followed, pretending to be nervous diplomats. The aliens led them toward the center of the ship, where Admiral HFY waited. They never made it that far. Now, Rodriguez whispered into his communicator. All around him, his soldiers pulled out their pulse rifles and opened fire. The Zephyrians screamed in shock as the energy beams cut through their shields like paper. Alien guards fell everywhere. Emergency alarms began to sound. At the same time, the other 4 surrender ships launched their own attacks. Human soldiers fought their way through alien corridors. Explosions rocked the Zephyrian vessels. On Earth, Dr. Brooks watched her instruments carefully. "All teams are in position," she reported to President Carter. "Ready to activate the pulse network." "Do it," the president ordered. Around the world, massive electromagnetic transmitters came to life. They sent out a coordinated pulse that traveled at the speed of light. The wave hit every alien ship in Earth's atmosphere at exactly the same moment. The effect was immediate and devastating. Alien shields flickered and died. More importantly, their quantum drives began to fail. Ships that had floated effortlessly above Earth cities suddenly found themselves falling toward the ground. Admiral HFY felt his flagship shudder as its drive systems failed. Emergency power kicked in, but it was not enough to keep the massive ship airborne. Through his ship's walls, he could hear explosions and weapons fire as the human soldiers fought his crew. "Impossible," he whispered. "They are a primitive species. They cannot have weapons that can penetrate our shields." But they did, and they were using them. Captain Rodriguez fought his way toward the flagship's bridge. His pulse rifle cut down every alien guard that tried to stop him. Behind him, his team planted explosive charges on critical ship systems. "Rodriguez to Earth Control," he spoke into his communicator. "Package delivered. Get ready for fireworks." Dr. Brooks tracked the falling alien ships on her screens. 37 vessels down, she reported. 62 still operational but damaged. It was not a complete victory, but it was a start. Earth had shown the Zephyrians that humans were not helpless prey. The aliens had wanted easy conquest. Instead, they had found a fight. Admiral HFY managed to stabilize his flagship before it crashed, but barely. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships were scattered and confused, for the first time in centuries of conquest. The Zephyrian Empire had been hurt by their intended victims, and Earth was just getting started. Admiral HFY was furious. No species had ever dared to attack the Zephyrian Empire. No species had ever succeeded in destroying so many of their ships. The humans had humiliated him in front of his entire crew. "Kill them all," he ordered. "If we cannot have their cooperation, we will take what we need from their corpses." The remaining alien ships began attacking Earth cities. Purple energy beams struck buildings and military bases. But the aliens were still careful not to destroy too much. They needed the planet and its people, even if those people had to be dead. Major Lisa Thompson was in her command, bunkered deep beneath the Rocky Mountains when the real war began. She watched screens showing alien attacks all over the world. New York, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other cities were under fire. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked her aide. 62 operational Zephyrian vessels, came the reply. "Our first attack destroyed 37 ships and damaged most of the others, but they're still dangerous." Lisa picked up her communicator and spoke to resistance leaders around the world. "This is Mountain Base. Begin Phase 2 operations. Hit them hard and hit them fast." In New York City, Staff Sergeant Ben Miller led his team through the subway tunnels. Above them, alien soldiers were setting up control points throughout the city. The Zephyrians had landed troops to secure human populations for genetic harvesting. Ben and his men emerged from a subway entrance behind a group of alien soldiers. The humans carried the new pulse rifles that Dr. Brooks had designed. The weapons worked perfectly. 6 aliens fell before they could even turn around. "Move fast," Ben told his team. "We hit them and disappear before reinforcements arrive." This was happening all over Earth. Human soldiers used guerrilla tactics to strike at alien ground forces. They would attack quickly, then vanish into buildings, tunnels, or forests before the aliens could respond. But Ben discovered something even more important during one of these attacks. He found an alien soldier who was sick. The creature was coughing and struggling to breathe. Ben called Dr. Brooks immediately. "Doctor, I think these aliens are getting sick from something." Dr. Brooks was very interested. "Can you get me a sample? Blood, saliva, anything? I can try." When Ben got the sample to Dr. Brooks, she made an amazing discovery. The Zephyrians have lived in sterile environments for so long that they had no defense against Earth's bacteria and viruses. Common germs that did not hurt humans at all were deadly to the aliens. "This changes everything," Dr. Brooks told Major Thompson. "We don't just have better weapons now. We have biological warfare." Working quickly, Dr. Brooks and her team created special bacteria that would attack alien biology. They put these germs into the water supplies that aliens were using. They contaminated food stores that alien soldiers might find. They even put the bacteria into the air systems of buildings where aliens had set up bases. Within days, alien soldiers all over Earth began getting sick. Some died, others became too weak to fight. The mighty Zephyrian ground forces were being defeated by tiny organisms they could not even see. But Dr. Brooks made an even more important discovery while studying captured alien equipment. She found that Zephyrian technology was not just advanced, it was connected to their minds. "Look at this," she showed Dr. Paul Hayes, a scientist who studied how brains work. Their weapons, their ships, their communication devices, they all respond to mental commands. Dr. Hayes examined the alien technology carefully. "It's incredible. They think at their machines, and the machines obey. But this connection goes both ways." "What do you mean?" "If we can send signals back through this connection, we might be able to hurt their minds directly." Working together, Dr. Brooks and Dr. Hayes built a weapon unlike anything Earth had ever created. It sent psychic energy through the same channels that aliens used to control their technology. But instead of commands, it sent pain and confusion. Lieutenant Sam Cooper volunteered to test the new weapon. He was a pilot who had already survived 3 battles against alien ships. "If this thing can stop them from thinking clearly, it might give us the edge we need." Sam took the psychic weapon aboard one of Earth's few remaining fighter jets. He flew toward a group of 12 alien ships that were attacking Los Angeles. As he got close, he activated the weapon. The effect was immediate and terrible. The alien crews screamed as overwhelming pain filled their minds. They could not think. They could not control their ships. The vessels began spinning out of control and crashing into each other. "It works," Sam reported back to base. "All 12 ships are down. The aliens inside are unconscious." Major Thompson realized they had found the key to victory. "How many of these psychic weapons can we build?" "Give me 2 weeks," Dr. Brooks replied. "I can outfit every fighter plane and tank we have left." But the aliens were learning too. Admiral HFY War discovered why his ground forces were dying. He ordered all Zephyrian soldiers to wear protective suits and breathe only filtered air. The biological warfare became less effective. He also learned about the psychic weapon after losing 12 ships. "These humans are more clever than we thought," he admitted to his officers. "They are using our own strengths against us." HFY War decided to change tactics. Instead of trying to control Earth's cities, he would destroy them completely. If the humans wanted to fight, he would give them a war that would end with their complete destruction. The alien ships began charging their most powerful weapons. These were planet-killing beams that could crack continents and boil oceans. HFY War had avoided using them because he wanted Earth intact, but now he was too angry to care. "Prepare the deep strike weapons," he ordered. "We will turn their world into a wasteland. Then we will take genetic samples from whatever survives." On Earth, Dr. Brooks detected the energy buildup in the alien ships. "Major Thompson, they're preparing something big. Energy readings are off the charts. How long do we have?" Maybe 6 hours before they can fire. Lisa Thompson looked at her. Screens showing Earth's remaining defenses. Humanity had fought bravely, but they were still outnumbered. The aliens had bigger guns and better technology. In a straight fight, Earth would lose, but humans had never been good at fighting fair. They were about to prove that again. General Kate Morrison knew that Earth had only one chance left. The aliens were preparing to destroy the planet rather than lose to humans. She had to stop them before they could fire their planet-killing weapons. "How many ships do we have ready?" she asked Major Thompson. 47 fighters with the new psychic weapons, 12 bombers with experimental warheads, and 1 prototype ship that Dr. Brooks has been working on. The prototype ship was humanity's greatest achievement. Dr. Brooks had combined human engineering with captured alien technology. The result was a vessel that could fight alien ships on equal terms. Commander Sue Adams had been chosen to pilot this hybrid warship. She was Earth's best pilot and had survived more battles against the aliens than anyone else. The ship had been built around her, designed to work with human reflexes and human thinking. "How does it feel?" Dr. Brooks asked as Sue ran through the ship's systems. "Strange," Sue admitted. "I can feel the ship's weapons and engines in my mind, just like the aliens do. But it still feels human somehow." Meanwhile, Captain Danny Walsh was leading a secret mission that could end the war completely. Using stolen alien navigation data, he and a small team were traveling to the Zephyrian home system. If they could strike at the alien homeworld, they might force the aliens to stop their attack on Earth. Danny's ship was completely hidden from alien sensors. It used the same stealth technology that Colonel Davis had used to board the first alien vessel. But this trip was much more dangerous. They were traveling across the galaxy to attack the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Back on Earth, Admiral Keth Vio was almost ready to fire his planet-killing weapons. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth turn slowly below him. Soon, the troublesome humans would be nothing but dust and radiation. "Weapons charged to maximum power," his weapons officer reported. "Ready to fire on your command. Target their largest cities first," Kethvero ordered. "New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing. Show them what happens when they defy the Zephyrian Empire." But before he could give the final order, alarms began screaming. Throughout his ship, "Admiral, we have incoming fighters." Dozens of them. General Morrison had launched every ship Earth had left. The psychic weapons worked perfectly. Alien crews found themselves unable to think clearly as waves of mental static filled their minds. Ships that had seemed invincible just days before now spun helplessly through space. Sue Adams piloted her hybrid ship directly at Keth Vor's flagship. The alien ship fired its defensive weapons, but Sue's vessel had shields that could absorb the attack. She fired back with weapons that combined human explosives with alien energy beams. The flagship shuddered under the assault. Keth Vor could not believe what he was seeing. A single human ship was damaging his mighty vessel. "How is this possible?" he screamed. "They are using our own technology against us," his science officer replied. "But they have modified it somehow. Their ship is more advanced than ours." The battle lasted for 6 hours. Human ships swarmed around the alien fleet like angry wasps. The psychic weapons kept alien crews confused and helpless. One by one, the great Zephyrian ships began to fall. Sue Adams fought her way through the alien defenses until she was in direct combat with Admiral Keth Vor's flagship. The two ships circled each other, firing every weapon they had. Explosions lit up the space around Earth like fireworks. Finally, Sue found her opening. While Keth Vor's ship was recharging its weapons, she fired her most powerful missiles directly at its bridge. The flagship's shields failed. The missiles punched through the crystal hull and exploded inside the ship. Admiral Keth Vor died in the explosion, along with most of his command crew. The mighty flagship that had terrorized 47 worlds broke apart and burned up in Earth's atmosphere. At almost the same moment, Captain Danny Walsh reached the Zephyrian homeworld. What he found there shocked him. The great Zephyrian Empire was not great at all. It was a collection of dying cities protected by energy domes. The entire population was sick and weak. There are maybe 1 million of them left, Walsh reported back to Earth. They're all living in these sealed cities. Everything outside the domes is dead. Danny realized that the fleet attacking Earth represented almost all the Zephyrians left alive. They had risked their entire species on conquering Earth because they were that desperate. With their admiral dead and their flagship destroyed, the surviving alien ships stopped fighting. They had no choice but to surrender. Many of their crews were dead or dying from Earth's biological weapons. The rest were too confused from the psychic attacks to continue the war. General Morrison accepted the alien surrender aboard the largest remaining Zephyrian ship. The alien commanders were frightened and defeated. They begged for mercy. "Please," one of them said. "We were only trying to survive. Our species is dying. We thought you would understand." Dr. Collins, who had come aboard to help with the negotiations, looked at the desperate aliens. "Why didn't you ask for help instead of trying to conquer?" "US? We are Zephyrians," the alien replied. "We have always taken what we needed. We did not know how to ask." President Carter, speaking from Earth, made a decision that surprised everyone. "We will help you," she announced, "but not as your slaves, as your partners." The surviving aliens could not believe what they were hearing. The species they had tried to conquer was offering to save them instead. Dr. Collins explained the plan. "We will work together to solve your genetic problems. Human scientists will help Zephyrian scientists find a cure for your reproductive issues. But in return, you will share your technology with us and promise never to attack another species again." The alien commanders agreed immediately. They had no choice, but they also realized they had found something better than conquest. They had found allies. In the months that followed, Earth and the surviving Zephyrians worked together. Human doctors helped cure the alien genetic problems. Alien engineers helped Earth build better spacecraft and weapons. The two species became friends instead of enemies. President Carter spoke to the United Nations 1 year after the war ended. "We have learned something important," she said. "The universe is full of species who think the only way to survive is to conquer others. Today we proved them wrong. We showed that cooperation is stronger than conquest." Word of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. Other species began to take notice of this small blue planet whose inhabitants something impossible. They had turned their worst enemies into their best friends, but the message was clear to anyone who might threaten Earth. Humanity would welcome friends with open arms, but anyone who came seeking to enslave or destroy them would face Earth's wrath instead.